Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Today on CityCast Boise. Our city is home to some pretty incredible athletes, some of whom will soon be able to add Olympian to their resume. With the Paris Olympics officially kicking off this Friday, who are these hometown competitors? Our executive producer, Frankie Barnhill, has the lowdown on 4 local athletes you're going to want to cheer for. It's Wednesday, July 24th. I'm Lindsay Van Allen, and this is what Boise's talking about. Frankie, it's Olympic time again.
Yeah, here we are, Paris.
Yeah, 'tis the season for the Olympics.
Yep.
So who is the first Boisean that you're going to be watching at the Paris Olympics?
Okay, have you heard of Matteo Jorgensen? Does that name ring a bell off the top of your head?
No, so I'm guessing this is a sport I maybe don't follow, which there are many. So not that they're not important, but
Yeah.
I'm really excited to hear about what does Matteo do?
Yeah, okay, so Matteo is a road cyclist. He is 25 years old. He is from Boise, and he actually went to Boise High. So,
Hey!
yeah, so Matteo has been making a name for himself big time on the Tour de France. So speaking of Paris Olympics, the Tour de France every year, he has been an athlete that's really rising up the ranks in cycling, which, yeah, full disclosure, I don't follow cycling very closely either. But when I was looking into just like how big of a deal he is, he's a big deal. And he's a sponsored athlete. And most recently, he actually finished 8th overall in the Tour de France.
Wow, that's it. And he's 25.
I know. So in the top 10, he finished in the top 10 in 8th place. The Tour de France just wrapped up on Sunday. So a week ahead of the Olympics kicking off, the Tour de France finished up. And but you know what? Honestly, he wants more. He's not satisfied with 8th place. He wants to do more than that. And in like his Instagram, he recently posted about his finish and feeling like, you know, it just leaves him wanting more, essentially. So
Yeah, I can imagine. So, okay, so he's done Tour de France. Has he been to the Olympics before and I missed it, or is this his first time?
this will be his first Olympic appearance. So it's a big deal for him to come right from the Tour de France and head into the Olympics. And he's going to be in the men's road race. And honestly, I just watch him closely because he's kind of a spark, just got a lot of spark in him for sure. And like watching him, I watched some clips of him at Tour de France and just like his facial expressions, how intense he is, and how proud of being from Boise he is. Like in his Instagram, he's actually living in Nice right now.
Oh.
Sounds nice. Nice. Nice sounds nice.
Yeah.
Which of course is a perfect place for a cyclist who's like obsessed with winning the Tour de France
Yeah.
someday soon.
Yeah.
But you know, he also says like from Boise, Idaho. So it's cool to see. And he has like some photos of when he comes and visits friends and family. And his family does still live in Boise. So they'll be rooting for Matteo. And I think we should as well.
Yeah. When can people tune in and see him compete?
Yeah. So August 3rd is when the men's road race that he will compete in happens. And he's one of 3 American men competing in that particular race that day.
That's fantastic. Would you say it's fair that there might be some roads or bike lanes named maybe like Matteo Jorgensen Bikeway pretty soon?
I know, right? Yeah, like the Kristen Armstrong effect in Boise. I think so. And what's also cool about him and his background in Boise, he credits this group. So if there's any parents out there who have an active kid who is interested in cycling or just loves to be on their bike, there's this nonprofit called Birds Cycling Inc. Just learned about this. And he credits that group, which, takes kids out of, I think, both mountain biking and also like road biking and trains them. So he credits that group as getting him really addicted to this sport at a young age when he was growing up in Boise.
That is so cool. What a great shout out for this local group and for
I
Boise.
know.
I love the hometown people, just
Totally.
not necessarily running from Boise, but just, being like, yes, where I'm from. And look at me soar.
And repping the city that he's from, even still from Nice. So
yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, even living in France, he's like, I am from Boise.
Yep.
And Frankie, we actually have a boxer competing this year. That's kind of different for Idaho.
Yeah, not a sport usually, at least I don't usually think of boxing, but this person is badass. Alyssa Mendoza, remember her name. She is 20 years old. She's from Caldwell, and she is a boxer in the 55 kilogram category. When I was looking this up, obviously, boxing goes by weight, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's not the very lightest, but it's like second lightest.
Second to lightest.
Yes. So she is 5'5". She is in the 57K category, and she is also a southpaw, which means...
hey!
Yeah. So she's a lefty. So, and she just sounds like just a spitfire. And at 20 years old,
that's
competing
so
in the Olympics.
young. We have some young Olympians. I know, it doesn't matter what age, but that is really young to have reached that level of athleticism and
absolutely,
be on that stage.
Yeah, and she qualified recently. She was in a competition in Thailand, and she also another very active person on Instagram. Like all these athletes, I love it because you can go look up their Instagram and see what they're saying. And when they get to France, they're posting about being around in Paris and stuff, which is fun, and at the Olympic Village. And she was talking about how she really didn't think she was going to make it this year, and then just had a standout performance in the ring in Thailand, and she's going to Paris.
That is fantastic. Is there anything else we should know about Alyssa before she competes, or really to get in that headspace to really celebrate her?
Yeah, she's another person who's incredibly proud of being from Idaho. She loves fishing and camping, and was recently seemed to be going on some epic backpacking trip with friends and family in Idaho before heading over to Paris, which she is there now. And I think the competition, that one, the 57 kilogram competition, that starts on Tuesday, July 30th. So next week, you can check her out.
Get right, get that on your calendars. That's coming up. We got to be cheering for Alyssa.
Yeah, and that southpaw. I mean, watch out for that left hand.
I was gonna say, I don't know enough about boxing to know, but does that maybe give her an advantage, or is that maybe more difficult and she's just rose to the occasion?
Great question. I am not a boxing expert either, but my very vague understanding is that can be an advantage just because it throws others off and they're not necessarily expecting it. And speaking as a fellow lefty, I always appreciate when I see a lefty athlete because they're just they change things up. They change up the dynamic, whatever sport they're performing in.
Well, if it gives her an advantage, good for her. Use that. Absolutely. As a fellow Idahoan, you just absolutely use that to rise to the top.
And so cool. She's from Caldwell, too.
Yeah.
Treasure Valley, absolutely. But cool for Caldwell specifically to have someone to cheer, a hometown girl. I saw, I think it was the police chief in Caldwell commented on one of her recent posts, saying, hometown hero and stuff. So people are getting excited about her for sure.
Hi, I'm David Plotz, the CEO of CityCast. The best way to learn a language is immersion, living where the language is spoken and using it every day. That's how I learned French as a kid. But if that's not in the cards for you this year, you can still learn a language the second best way, and that's with Babbel. I live in a city with a huge immigrant population. You probably do too. And in my hometown, a lot of my new neighbors speak Spanish as a first language, and we have lots of great Mexican and Central American and South American restaurants and stores. I wanted to be able to communicate just a little bit better with some of my neighbors. So I started with Babbel, the science-backed language learning app that actually works. And after just a few extremely enjoyable weeks learning Spanish with Babbel, I've already gotten comfortable ordering at a restaurant, and eavesdropping on my girlfriend's conversations with her mom. Look, learning a language isn't always easy, but with Babbel, it is fun and it feels useful, basically immediately. That's why Babbel has over 16 million subscriptions sold. Plus, all of Babbel's 14 award-winning language courses are backed by their 20-day money-back guarantee. Here's a special limited-time deal for CityCast listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/citycast. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/citycast. Spelled BABBEL.com/citycast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Frankie, before we jump into some more talk about our local athletes who we should be looking for, how big of a deal are the Olympics for you?
Yeah, you know what? I find myself always the Olympics come every 4 years, the Summer Olympics, and I'm like, oh, right, the Olympics. I like this, but I definitely am not thinking about it between the 4 years very much. And, but I do kind of have that mentality. I like to jump behind, whatever bandwagon feels most fun to be on.
Yes.
So that's why I thought it was fun to look into these athletes, because there's so many, of course, to root for if you're rooting for folks on Team USA. And why not root for ones from Boise?
Absolutely.
That's kind of how I feel. So yeah, I'll find myself getting kind of swept up in the energy, especially around certain competitions like swimming, definitely some running. The more I can understand the sport, I think the easier it is to get excited about it too. But there's just those iconic competitions, obviously, that really stand out. What about for you? How big of are you planning on watching much this year?
I definitely, I think we're similar. As a child in the 90s, it felt like the Olympics were so huge. And having, how TV was, whether you had local channels or cable, it was on every channel. And so you just turn on the TV and whatever was happening, you were cheering for it. I grew up loving watching gymnastics. That was peak summer Olympic sport. That and swimming, you've got to watch it. And so I still think those are really fun. Those are maybe, I definitely have ones where kind of maybe the more iconic ones I grew up with, I'm always oh yeah, what's going on there? Definitely, I would say I'm not overtly patriotic. I think that's a fair thing to say. Yeah. Not that I don't love my country. I'm just, it just is dormant. But when the Olympics happen, I am I'm Team USA.
You're get out the Eagles.
Exactly. Caca. Here we go. It's America. I'm Team. Yeah. Exactly. I don't care what sport it is. I don't know anything about the athletes a lot of times. I'm all about America. Racing, whatever, when the USA takes over any country or starts winning, I'm yeah, that's right. That's you. That's right. That's America, baby. So that definitely every 4 years comes out for me. So
yeah, how perfect it's happening during an election year. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, there you go. It's perfect. You got to get that revved up for November.
Yeah, for real.
So going back to our growing list of local Olympians to watch, something about Boise is a good segment of people in Boise take running very seriously. Yeah. So it's kind of exciting to have a Boise runner competing.
Yeah, I think about these sports, some that, very, very few people who box, for example, I think these days. That's a pretty a small minority of people who participate in that particular sport, for example. But running, so many people run, especially around Boise. Yeah. We have great trails, and people of all levels, participate in that for fun and for obviously for health reasons too. But someone who has risen to elite Olympic level is Marissa Howard. Have you heard of her at all in the news?
No, but I'm excited to.
Okay, yeah. So Marissa is pretty well known in the running community for several years now. She lives in Boise now. She actually she grew up in Pasco. She went to Boise State, so she competed at Boise State in their track and field and in cross country. And so she is a long distance runner. And specifically this year, she is competing in the steeplechase competition.
Okay, what's a steeplechase? I don't know. I another sport I don't know much about.
Yeah.
What is a steeplechase?
Well, first off, you hear 3,000 meters. And if you ever, did a little track in junior high or something, 3,000 meters is a long way to run, which can be for viewers, right? Because there's the participation in it, like, and actually actively being someone who does that sport. And then also, but for the Olympics, it's about what are we watching and is it exciting or not on our TV?
Yeah.
Is it worth having that 90s era a vibe of everybody watching the Olympics, or am I going to get bored quickly?
See, these are the kind of things where, like, if you're like measure 3,000 meters, I don't know. But I feel like everyone's competing at such like a high level that these are the kind of things where I'm like, can they just have a normal person do it? Like have me run it as the like here's your control. See how she's not doing great and everyone else is doing
really
amazing.
well.
Like look at see how she fell on the ground and passed out. Like everyone else is that's how good they are.
Yeah.
That's what I think would be helpful.
That would be helpful. Like before the competition actually starts, like grab a random person from the crowd and be like, hey, run 3,000 meters next to this Olympian and see.
Yeah, just kind
to
of
give
a control.
us a sense. Yeah.
They're so good that like the person who's like last in that group, you're like, oh man,
Right.
why'd you even show up? But like truly, like if I was doing it, it's like, she's never going to walk again. So
well, mix in running 3,000 meters at very high speed with, this is what the steeplechase is, with barriers of various height. So hurdles.
Okay, like a track hurdle, or are we talking about like a mountain of dirt or something?
Great question. Track hurdles, but sometimes with water. So
I'm sorry, what?
So there'll be a track hurdle, and then right after it, there'll be like this pit of water. So you're hurtling over.
Is this okay? I'm sorry. This is real.
Yes. And then you splash in the water at the end because you usually can't clear both the hurdle and this huge like hole that they put in the track with water. And so like your feet are wet, but you're still running. Just go, go, go. I was reading about this sport and somebody, I think it was like a Nike article, was saying like, the hurdles, you don't necessarily look the best. You just need to get over them. Just literally get over the hurdle however you can and keep running.
How did this, I'm so sorry. I know this is not the point, but how did this become a sport?
The Brits, those Brits.
Okay.
Yeah, apparently it started at Oxford. And actually it's a fairly new Olympic sport for women. So it only started in 2008 for women to be able to compete in the 3,000 meter steeplechase. So it's a newer competition. Just imagine run, hurdle, water, run as fast as you can.
Okay, what if we, since it's already a weird hurdle pit situation, what if we add like a ring of fire?
Yeah, why not?
And we can call it like the ultra steeplechase.
Yeah, fire barrier, fire hurdle, then water. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Put yourself out after you go over it. So
not to make fun of this race. I know this is serious, and I know you have to work really hard to get there.
Yeah.
I just, from an outsider perspective, that did not seem like a real
intense.
thing.
It is intense, but it does make for those 3,000 meters, which if, as a viewer, you're watching 3,000 meters can feel not monotonous, but it's a little bit longer of the track races. It's not, it's not the 100 meter dash or anything even close to it. So having those hurdles obviously adds like a lot of complexity to this particular competition. And Marissa's interesting because she's 31. She's actually, I think she's turning 32 during the Olympics in Paris. And she's a mom. She had...
I would say just like you had the like Southpaw,
right?
Moms represent.
I know. Yeah, that's what I thought. It's fascinating because, so she had her kid 2 years ago, and this is the first time she's qualified for the Olympics. So...
Wow.
Which is
good job.
Which is saying a lot. I mean, that takes a lot of grit, and just seeing how her career, both at Boise State as a really accomplished steeplechase competitor, and then, but it took until 2024, 2 years after having her first kid, that now she's an Olympian.
That is so kick-ass. Marissa,
it really is.
I salute you.
Yeah.
I've never tuned in for a steeplechase before, but I will for Marissa. That's mom code.
Yep. I should say, the water jump is 12 feet long. I should be specific about that.
When is Marissa competing? What day? Because I've got to tune in now.
Yes.
This is serious. When can I see this?
Good. Yeah, you're hooked. August 4th is that competition. So we got a little bit of time. We'll put a link in the show notes to the website for the Olympics where you can search like exact times and all of that, and be looking out for different competitors. And you can search, once you have the sport, you can search by competitor. So you can figure out when people will be doing their thing. Yep.
I love it. Okay, Frankie, I think we've established I'm not particularly sportsy.
Sportsy, yeah.
I'm lightly sportsy. But this next athlete plays a sport that I actually really do enjoy watching and can really get into, and that's soccer. And
nice.
I know it's on the world stage, but as long as our women's team looks this good, it's soccer. I will be patriotic about that.
For sure.
So who from this area is on the Olympic soccer team?
Yeah, great question. You know what, I was kind of noticing when I was looking over, and we've mostly been talking about the people who either live in the Treasure Valley or from there or, represent it in some way, like are really proud to talk about it. What's interesting is most of them are not on team sports. Most are individual-based sports. So yeah, boxing, cycling, and running so far. But for soccer, a team-based sport, we do have one person to keep your eyes open. I don't know if we'll get to see her play, though. Her name's Emily Sams. She was a soccer player at Centennial and lived in Boise. Before moving away, she was in Florida for college. And she is, however, the reason why it's not for sure that we're going to see her play is because she's actually an alternate. So she's an alternate on the women's team, which good for her.
I would say that's still like huge. Again, with that, like having a control variable,
totally.
She could like totally out any soccer maneuver us, run us.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's like when people are like, oh, they lost first place, but won second. It's like they won second place. They're the second best in the entire world, and whatever that is. It's like being an alternate on U.S. women's soccer is a big deal too.
You're still like a winner, like far and above anywhere that I could ever pretend I could ever try to achieve.
And if nothing else, I mean, she gets to go cheer on her that incredible team and her teammates, and maybe there's a chance she'll get some minutes as well. We'll see.
Yeah, that would be great. And she gets to go to Paris.
Nothing
wrong with that. Okay, so if potentially she gets to play, let's not root for, I hope everything goes well for everyone, but also hope Emily gets to play.
Yep.
When could we watch her?
Yeah, so the United States women's team has their first game actually on Thursday, tomorrow, July 25th.
Okay, everybody get at it.
Yeah, get at it. And they're playing Zambia, I believe. And they will then, after that, the next game that they'll play is on July 28th against Germany. And then after that, as they advance, it would be Australia on July 31st. So, could potentially
so kind of
see
some
them.
Quick turnaround.
Yes, for sure. So yeah, soccer. Oh, that's exciting.
I do love soccer. That is one sport I'm very much excited to watch. So, Frankie, to round this all out, how can people show support and celebrate these local athletes or tune in? Since it's not the 90s, you can't just turn on the TV and it's all over everything. How can people support our athletes?
Yeah. I think this is kind of fun that there's going to be an event actually at Jump, and that's for the opening ceremony, which is on Friday. So Jump is throwing this party starting at 5 p.m. And they're going to have like a nice little France themed party, a little French, a little Parisian experience for people. So definitely family friendly. And Marissa Howard is going to be there.
Hey!
Yeah, because she won't have left quite yet. I think she leaves this weekend for Paris, or maybe it's the beginning of next week. And so you could get a chance to meet her, maybe get a picture with her. There's going to be some kind of quote unquote sports demo, is what it says on the website. We'll see what that means. Maybe maybe she'll race you, Lindsay, if you go.
Perfect.
I don't know.
Perfect. Y'all can watch me not make it over a hurdle and then fall into 12 feet of water.
Run around the block at Jump.
Perfect.
I don't know.
Yes. Yeah, we could do the control there. Be like, watch Lindsay not run. Wow.
Yes. And then there's going to be some like quote unquote Olympic games on the lawn, some French food on offer for people if they want to buy a patisserie box or have a French picnic or something like that. So that sounds fun and cool. And I love that there's a way for people to both like gather for the opening ceremonies and, send off at least one of our athletes and celebrate the fact that, Boise is being represented in the Olympics.
Yeah, I love it. How fun. And just another great reason to tune in and cheer for our hometown heroes.
Absolutely.
That's all for today here on CityCast Boise. If you enjoyed the show, check out our Hey Boise newsletter for even more Olympic updates. We'll be back tomorrow morning with the history of the San Ignacio Festival and why it's celebrated in Boise. Catch you then.